methamphetamine, synthetics like I think ecstasy is maybe one of the stimulants they're talking about. Things like even caffeine and nicotine are in it. Those drinks, like the energy drinks, like Red Bull, that people will mix with alcohol so that they can stay up and party longer. Those are actually pretty dangerous because they will get higher and higher blood alcohol content because they're drinking more, because they're lasting longer. So just be, I have seen an ambulance called for someone with alcohol poisoning, and that's what that particular person had done, was mixing, and what didn't normally do that, but had decided to mix some sort of energy drink with alcohol, and so ended up with alcohol poisoning in a big ambulance and hospital bill. Okay. Cocaine comes from the coca plant in South America. It's not the cocoa plant, it's coca. They used to put it in Coca-Cola, made people really feel energetic and happy, so that the government figured out that wasn't so great and stopped that in 1906. So, cocaine, lots of energy, anorexia. Some women start using stimulants to lose weight, maybe some men do too. Increased sex drive, delayed ejaculation, so if they think that they're going to be a better lover, they might use cocaine for that reason. Neither of these are very good reasons. If somebody's really shy, they might use it just so they can be more outgoing. People take it probably to stay awake for long periods of time, to go without sleep. Even though that's on cocaine, I think college students tend to abuse some of the ADD medications like Adderall for that during classes. Someone with cocaine on board is probably going to have dilated pupils. They tend to become paranoid. If they use excessive amounts, it can get tachycardia up to or even as high or higher than 200 beats per minute, and that can lead to cardiac arrest. Hypertension to the point of stroking out. A person who is overdosing is highly paranoid and might be diagnosed as schizophrenic if the doctor does not run a drug screen, because they will act like a paranoid schizophrenic sometimes. So, and that might be true of meth as well. They can be confused unless the doctors order drug screens with someone who's having some other type of mental illness. Meth, the government provided it to our soldiers in World War II so they would not fall asleep in the foxholes. I think they still do that in Vietnam. They probably use some form of stimulants still. People will, some of the students and I were talking, and I said, you know, I certainly wouldn't want to use methamphetamine. It's made with Drano or something, but if I thought I was going to fall asleep in a foxhole and someone was going to blow my head off, I would be more likely to use it than any. That might be reason enough. I don't know. I really don't want to do something that would that was maybe strange. So, the thing that's bad about this, there's lots of things that's bad about it. It's cheaper than cocaine, and it lasts longer. So that's one reason it became so common. Now a lot of, I don't know what people are doing. I think it's a little harder. Well, it's harder to make it, but it's still being smuggled into our country from both borders and from the oceans. Cargo ships, it comes by water, it comes by air, it comes across both borders. So both cocaine and meth and heroin. So it doesn't, we tried, our government's tried to make it harder for people to make it here, and they have succeeded by making it harder to buy some of the ingredients, the ephedrine and some of those things. But people find ways when they're motivated, I guess. One of the things that people who are overdosing on cocaine might tell you is that there are bugs crawling under their skin, and they'll say, look, you can see them, and they're driving me crazy. There's a term for that. Did you see it in your book? It starts with F. I can't remember where it was in the book. It's a strange word. It's like fornication. It sounds like fornicating. So, if somebody tells me what page that's on, just remember I mentioned that word. I mentioned it, but I didn't say it.
It's formication.
What is it called?
Formication.
F-O-R-M-I-C-A-T-I-O-N.
I don't know the page.
What page is that on?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Good job of studying.
No, I just looked it up.
Oh, good. I still think that's good. I still think that's good.
She just went with it.
Can you spell it one more time?
No idea.
Ask Abby. She can spell
Abby,
it.
can you spell it?
Do they just feel like, do they actually?
Formication.
F-O-R-M-I-C.
And I said fornicate. Fornication. It's not an N as in
Yeah,
Nancy,
not so
it's
sure,
an
right?
M as in Mary.
And it's like bugs, do they feel like, do they just feel like it, or do they think they see them?
They feel and
they see them.
feel
Okay.
and see.
I had a guy do that.
I don't
He had
understand.
marriage tweezers and he was digging in his arm.
It is creepy. One of the
They're
really
scratchy.
sad things about meth is that the brain becomes permanently altered. And I think that's probably true if they use as much cocaine, but because cocaine's a lot more expensive, I don't know if they can use as most people. But, so the dopaminergic system, gets to where it only recognizes meth. It only recognizes these substances. So your happy places, like maybe you used to love your spouse, and being with your spouse made you happy. But being with your spouse doesn't make you happy anymore. Only meth makes you happy.
It can
Food
take 2
doesn't
years for
make
your
you
body
happy?
to correct that.
What?
It can take 2 years for your body to correct that.
I'm not, it is a very long-term problem, and these people look, my niece, the meth addict, when she's sober, which isn't often, but she looks pretty miserable. She doesn't smile about her children, she doesn't smile about, turkey dinner at Thanksgiving, she doesn't, nothing seems to make her happy, but meth. So, and that's typical. The part of their brain that makes happiness is just destroyed. And Hannah said it can take 2 years for that to wear off. I don't know if the long-term heavy users, if it ever completely goes away, but it is that's why they need to go through a really long rehab. She was probably, gosh, she was in jail maybe 18 months. That wasn't long enough. So, anyway. So, that is a very bad thing. They also can become really rage-filled and paranoid. They can be psychotic. When they're high on meth, they take a lot of it. They go without sleep for days and days. They can have some very bad, be very unpleasant. And they don't eat very much, and so they're usually skinny, but not always. And the substances it's made of seem to destroy the teeth. Okay, overdose of cocaine, meth, and ecstasy. Usually death, cardiac arrhythmias. The coronary arteries can also spasm, and that can cause death because they don't let blood flow through if they're in a tight spasm. It's like a muscle spasm, only it's a spasm of the coronary arteries. You can have hyperthermia associated with prolonged seizures, which can cause brain damage and maybe death. There's all kinds of overdose issues with these drugs. Physical withdrawal is unpleasant but relatively mild. Usually they're not given anything to help them with it, unless maybe an antidepressant. The psychological withdrawal is hard. They're very depressed and lethargic and mad because they don't have the drug. Okay, things like LSD and alter sensory perception. They can have hallucinations. They can feel a sense of depersonalization. The sensory perception, they can think that they can taste a color or smell a color. There's some very strange experiences that they'll try to explain to you. And maybe see that star up there is smiling at me and talking to me and things like that. Flashbacks are common and unpredictable, can happen for years after the use, which I would think would be pretty miserable and difficult to work if that sort of thing was happening to you. They'll talk about colors melting and shapes and shifting and all kinds of odd visual perceptions. So really their reality is totally not what ours would be. Pupil dilation, I think you can read this one for yourself. I have nothing written on that slide. Heightened response to textures, color, sounds. Oh, that synesthesia is what the term is for the tasting and smelling colors. And I think I added that term. You don't need to know it, but I just thought since I ran across it, I would add it. Their sense of time is altered. Maybe an hour goes by and it seems like days, or maybe several hours go by and it only seems like minutes. There's no typical ordinary feelings. Everything, they don't just like you, they either love you or hate you. They're not annoyed with you, they're either furious with you or they think you're magnificent. Nothing is in the middle. Everything is very high or very low. And they can have those out-of-body experiences too, that we talk about with PTSD. So marijuana, been around for 5,000 years. Hashish is a more potent concentrate that I think maybe came from Asia, but it's also in the United States. Recreational use of cannabis is now legal in 11 states. Illinois is the last state to approve it. And medical use is in approximately 30. I just looked at the map and the colors on the map and said that's about 30. I don't know exactly. It can be taken orally, like in food or gummies or whatever. The medical uses are to treat seizures. Sometimes anorexia and nausea that come with chemotherapy or AIDS. If somebody is very malnourished because of their medical treatment, they might be prescribed a medicinal marijuana or a synthetic called Marinol. Occasionally it is used for glaucoma. It decreases the intraocular pressure. And I put a question mark there because I don't know how often that is prescribed, because there's a lot of eye drops without the same side effects. One of the things that I think is kind of important to know about cannabis is that the ongoing research is really troublesome. So many states have legalized it, but what they're finding, it's almost like we're legalized it and now we're doing research. Young people in particular, of course, it's not legal for teenagers, but they get their hands on it. When the brain's not fully developed, they seem to find these impaired memory problems, and there might be some long-term things that we really haven't studied it that much, even though it's been around for so long. For whatever reason, we just haven't done the research to really know that it is all that safe. So we kind of said, yeah, this stuff's no big deal, but I hope we don't find out 5 or 10 years down the road that young people in their teens and 20s are suffering long-term or permanent effects because of using it. And it says that a fully developed brain seems not to have so much problems, but, they're just now really looking at the younger people. So, substance abuse effects on the family. Family members often are enablers. There's usually a codependent type person in the family who actually gets their needs met by taking care of the addict. I know addict is not a politically correct word, but I'm gonna use it for a little bit, then I'll stop. So they will sometimes make excuses or lie for the addict. They'll give them money to buy their drugs. You know, if I said, I learned this from A&E also. I'm gonna go into this terrible part of Baltimore where the murder rate is sky high and buy, I don't know, lorazepam. When my mom said, I'll give you $50 to buy a beer, so, you know, or I'll give you $50 to get something here that's legal or whatever, or I'll give you my bottle of lorazepam, because I don't want you to go in there. You know, that would be an example of being codependent. And if they pay your bills, like your legal bills and your fines and bail you out of every problem you get into, they have an addiction of their own. They like rescuing. So that's a problem in itself. Usually the family therapy might be required. Other things that happen is after someone's lied to you and stolen from you and done mean, horrible things because of their addiction, sometimes the family gets so divided that it takes years for them to heal and they may never heal. You know, parents get divorces over their children's addictions, their 20-year-old. Because maybe mom keeps covering for him and dad says we need to throw him out on the street, and they cannot come together and they end up splitting up. And then younger siblings are injured and all kinds of bad things go on. So professionals say that families often have as much difficulty adjusting to a recovered individual as they did when that person was addicted. And, you know, if I have the role that I'm the rescuer, I'm the problem solver, I'm the decision maker for my addicted 25-year-old child, and then that person suddenly gets off their drugs, they've had enough, they go to rehab, for the second or third time they get clean, they get a job, they get a girlfriend, and suddenly I'm not that important in their life. I might, in some part of my screwed up brain, wish they were still an addict. So, families are sick too. Families have to let go of the control of being in charge, and, you know, they have to let that person grow. And Al-Anon kind of assists them with that a little bit. To recognize what part they play, and that they may need to stop making it so easy for someone to stay addicted. Stop giving them money, stop putting a roof over their heads and things like that. And also be prepared for them to grow and make their own decisions. And because really, if my 25-year-old son, I don't have a son, but, and if I did, he wouldn't be older. But if my 25-year-old son doesn't make the decision for himself, that he is, you know, he's got a problem and that he's gonna get well, I can't make it for him, really. I can want to and I can try, but ultimately that person has to want to stop themselves. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. If you're coerced to get help, sometimes you'll take some steps, but sometimes not. Now, a lot of people have a coexisting mental illness. They may have a anxiety disorder or a depression disorder, or they may have bipolar or something. So, a lot of times, their recovery process is a little different. Maybe it's less confrontation. Maybe there's more medication involved. Maybe it's a little more supportive instead of, stand up and grow up. So, I don't know the particulars of that, I just know that it has to be different. we have to, assess our own feelings and put aside our bias if we want to work in, recovery. Because we can't work with people who are substance abusers if we are biased against them, because just because they're addicts doesn't mean they're not smart. They will know the difference. A chemically addicted person is not considered cured when sober, but in recovery. It's a lifelong process, so they're never really considered cured. It's that one day at a time philosophy. Some of the assessment tools that were mentioned in the textbook are audit and CAGE. Not gonna go into details about those. I think you can read all of these, principles of drug addiction treatment, like all substances really. Number 5 there that says, well, 4 is remaining in treatment for an adequate time is critical. That's a huge problem in the United States because our insurance will pay for 2 weeks or 3 weeks of treatment, and that doesn't really get anybody well. So we have problems there. And the other thing is that timing is important. When that person's ready to go to treatment, but you can't get them in anywhere, that's a problem. Because by the time they wait 6 weeks for an opening, they may no longer be in the right frame of mind. So that is a big deal in the United States too. We have some treatment facilities, but we don't have enough. Number 6, a medication can be important in treatment. 5 and 10 years ago, they didn't use anything but the disulfiram hardly. And now there are more and more medications to try to make withdrawal easier and staying sober easier. So, and there's research in that area. Detox is only the first stage of treatment. A lot of people detox, go out and immediately start using again. Let's see. Treatment need not be voluntary to be effective, but it helps. What that means is, like, if I get told you can either go to rehab or you can go to jail, that's coercion, And I may not really want to go to rehab. I may not want to stop using drugs. I may like my drugs, but I'll probably go rather than go to jail. But once in a while, somebody gets some benefit, even though they were coerced to go. So that is, it's not as likely to be successful if it was a coercive situation, but it still can be successful because they are getting the therapy while they're there. And then I'm gonna add a 10 to this slide. And this is from your book, and this is kind of a newer philosophy. The goal for some people is not abstinence, but reduction in risk. Because some people are just not willing to give up, and I'm gonna use alcohol as the example, because that's where you see it the most. It is a legal substance. They are gonna say, I'm not gonna give up my alcohol. I'm gonna go watch a football game with my brother, and I'm going to have a couple of beers. But, if you can reduce risk, in this philosophy, this is not ideal, but it is practical. You can make contracts with people, for example, okay? They will agree that they will not drink and drive. They will use Uber, or they will call a family member. So maybe they're gonna drink, or maybe they're gonna smoke pot, but they're not gonna drive while they're doing it. That's success, because they're not gonna kill themselves or someone else. That, it's not ideal, but it's better than getting behind the wheel under the influence. They're not going to drink around their children, or they're not gonna smoke pot or pop pills around their children. that is better than not. You don't want children growing up watching their intoxicated parents stagger around. That's not good for children. So if they will agree that they're not going to do this around their children, that's progress. And maybe you can get someone to set some limits, like when they come home from work, they're gonna smoke a half a joint, but they're not gonna smoke a half a joint before they go to work. Well, you know, again, that's progress. So, and that's where, like that, naltrexone drug comes into play with the alcoholics, that they can continue to drink, but take that drug and probably drink less. Well, 40%, not probably. So. I spent quite a bit of time on this slide. Do you guys have this slide?
Yes.
Does it have a Penn-Forsatus bar?
No.
Okay, is that the only thing?
No,
Quantity.
It doesn't have quantity, okay. So we've covered both of those pretty well. So just add those two to your slide. We've talked about them today. Because I'm gonna lose you, and we need to talk about critically impaired healthcare professionals. It is a problem in healthcare with nurses, with doctors, with respiratory therapists. A lot of times they rationalize their use as saying they have a lot of breath. Substance abuse becomes some sort of a coping strategy. It's not a good one, it's not effective, but some people go home from work and sit down and pop a few pills or have a few drinks or whatever. Concludes that one of your coworkers is impaired, is high absenteeism. Maybe they're wasting a lot of drugs. Sometimes they might tell you, this is morphine I'm wasting, but you didn't see them draw it up, which is incorrect. You should watch them draw it up and watch them waste. Or they may be wasting saline. That morphine may be going into their body. There's higher incidence of incorrect narcotic counts when these people are working. That's how an anesthesiologist, Anina, got caught a few years ago. More waste and some fishy counts. Signing out more pain medication than other nurses consistently every time you work. You might sign out that you give 2 Lortabs, and you may actually give the patient one and take one yourself. So and hospitals pay attention to these things. If you constantly, maybe one of the first things you do when you get to work is go around and medicate all your patients, that's kind of efficient. And I used to work with some night shift nurses who did that, not because they were drug addicts, because they didn't like for their patients to be awake. They liked sleeping patients. So, but nowadays, I think that they might fall under suspicion. So, one of the things to think about. You might notice the person, and I really don't like this slide because this is me, poor concentration, poor memory, irritability, uncooked interference, so forth. But anyway, boy, you guys are going to all forget what you know. But if you notice one of your coworkers changing and having trouble getting along at work and being in the bathroom every time you turn around, you walk off, maybe you just go to the bathroom and come back and they say, oh, your patient such and such had a pain score of 8, so I gave them some morphine, and you're like, funny, I just asked him and the pain score was 4. You know, before I walked in the bathroom, you might get suspicious that they're medicating your patients. That's not good. One of the things you really need to do is guard your sign-in. Now, at Integris, they use fingerprints now, but not so long ago, we used passwords. I still have a password at Integris. Because as an instructor, everybody still has a password, Stephanie said. guard your password. We had a nurse at St. Mary's not long ago who watched over another nurse's shoulder and stole her password and then, took out drugs in her name. And that got the first nurse, but she'd been there for 20 years and everybody thought, Mary Ann, this can't possibly be right, you know, we're having all these problems with under Mary Ann's name, but they were showing up when Mary Ann wasn't even a nurse. So they figured out who it was. That was good.
That was very smart.
And I heard it wasn't really Mary Ann. So, anyway, so be careful and guard your password to any drug. Make sure you sign out correctly. And if you think somebody has a problem, it's wrong not to say so. Because you're just an agent there. And you're endangering your patients, but they're probably not getting adequate care. So, I think I lost it. Third. Oh, okay. So, let the supervisor handle it. Don't confront that person. Just report it to your supervisor. Tell them you don't know for sure, but you're a little concerned.